It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detecting zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detecting zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detecting zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detecting zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detecting zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call The Detecting Zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the Detecting Zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension. A dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the Detecting Zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the Detecting Zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the Detecting Zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the Detecting Zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the Detecting Zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the Detecting Zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, of light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the Detecting Zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the Detecting Zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the Detecting Zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound.
We're going to start in a few seconds.
You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into
the Detecting Zone. How's everybody doing tonight? We have Meryl of Metal Detecting New York City here with us.
Who?
This guy. He has had one of the most amazing months I've ever seen a metal detectorist have. Meryl, you want to start? What's your best find just this month, just in May?
Well, you told me to bring rings and silver.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, although you might not know it in the videos, I really like Zinkins, and I didn't bring my favorite Zinkin. But of the stuff that I brought, I guess it would have to be gold. You know, gold is the coolest thing to. Well, you know what? No, actually, gold history. You know, it's a different thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to choose, right?
It's really hard to choose. So the big finds, video wise, you know, were the Real.
The Real, which is silver,
1732,
right?
And the Articles of Confederation, Connecticut copper.
That Connecticut copper was only produced for very few years in Connecticut. You found one here in New York.
Geeks me out.
How did it get here?
Good question. I mean, there was a very interesting story of early currency,
mm-hmm.
but it it had value there. I guess it shows that people traveled.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, it shows that people have dropped things for millennium, millennia, plural.
Yeah, and that Real, when you found it, who were you with? You were with Jeff that day?
I was with Jeff that day.
You were
Yeah,
with Jeff.
it goes to show that you make friends, and I'm a believer that if somebody is, willing to, they share their feels, you share yours, blah blah blah. You end up
Definitely,
in a much better
definitely.
place.
And
And
it seems like
yeah,
a lot of the new finds you've had, you were metal detecting with new people that you haven't metal detected with before, Jeff and James
and guess
specifically.
who that started with, Jonathan? You, the detecting zone. But first guy to get me out of my box. I'd never heard of Dead Horse Bay if it wasn't for you. Now, how many videos have I done there? So I
Yeah,
want to.
a lot, and the live streams just keep coming. Um, yeah, do you want to talk about that? How it's been sort of the transition from 2018 when you were detecting sort of by yourself and putting up YouTube videos to 2019. I think it was when you were doing the Golden City series, first detecting with me and then meeting new people and detecting, and sort of that shift between sort of being a very small YouTuber to being a bigger one with sort of a really good growth rate.
Yeah, if people. I guess if they can relate to you,
Hmm.
and we all have aspects of each one of our personalities that. Yeah, it's never going to be a perfect match, but it's like, okay, yeah, I could listen to this person, I could watch this person. I come from YouTubing, I guess, like about 10, no, 12 years now. And I think the most important thing is to do what you're motivated to do.
Hmm.
I did an art channel for a number of years,
That art
and
channel is very successful. How many subscribers does it have?
110,000, but
110,000 subscribers.
it wouldn't have had that if I continued doing it, because it's not where my head is at. I still
Mm.
keep a sketchbook. I still draw like squirrels with jetpacks and all that fun stuff.
Hmm.
Stuff that when it comes to my head, it's like, yeah, let me go with it. Let me do it. But my head is really, it's very much seeking history, seeking treasure, seeing
Definitely.
what New York, it's just, it feels good. It feels right to do that.
Is
And you have to give into your wiring. It's the way that I'm wired,
hmm
and it makes me happy. So I continue to do it. How did the channel grow? I
hmm
think people can easily tell that I love it.
Yeah. I
It's as
think
simple as that.
I think one of the things that you put into your channel, it's sort of like a cultural aspect. Like you create a culture around what you're doing where if you get, silver, you get that Haagen-Dazs, you get that ring, you get that Taco Bell, and
It's a
people
very
want to
healthy
see
culture.
what rap music you're gonna put out or what country music now. You put the raps down and you picked up a guitar. That was pretty funny. Oh, thanks for the subscription,
Yay! Can we
Studios
get the
Tunes.
man to 500 tonight?
I'm
He's got
close
to
to
get to
500. If I
500.
get to 500, I will be so happy tonight.
Get this man to
Thanks,
500.
Stevo's Tunes.
I'll
um,
say this. Listen, I'm sorry to cut the host off, but really, a lot of the success that I've had with my channel is due to this guy right here, Jonathan, the Detecting Zone. He's the great connector of New York metal detecting,
oh,
and I
thanks.
can't understate that. So, please, if you haven't done so already, hit subscribe. He makes really fascinating videos, and he also comes at it from a unique perspective, also.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my highest endorsement. Please hit that
Oh,
subscribe button.
thank you. Um, but yeah, I was saying that you sort of build a culture around what you're doing and with like sort of these rituals. You want to talk about that a bit more?
I just like to have fun. I like to celebrate. I like to, when you feel that you have a story to tell, it's easy to make a video
Oh
because
yeah.
you're pulled to it. There's a gravity to it.
Hmm.
I can't make art videos in the same way that I did when I was hyper focused on that. Knowing me, this might change in a few years, but right now I'm hyper focused on making these metal detecting videos. This is the story at this point of my life that I want to tell. Could I get into something else? Of course, but right now it's all about this.
And I mean, You do it very well. It sort of seems like you have sort of the secret formula not only to make good videos but to go out and consistently find good stuff. I don't know any metal detectorists who in a month could say they found a colonial copper, a real, a gold ring, a walking liberty half, that silver key that you found in Prospect Park. Last night you found a silver quarter, a barber half, and a seated.
Yeah.
Like, and that's in 1 month, and most of that within the last 2 weeks.
I'm stubborn. I'm really stubborn. There's two parts to that formula.
Hmm.
One, there's no way around it. You need good ground,
Oh yeah,
and you need to be able to understand that ground. Two,
definitely.
you need to be stubborn. You need to be persistent. I won't leave until until I get stuff.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody that's in the chat right now, Rob, how many rings have we seen
Robert
Rob pull?
Crespo has pulled out a lot of rings. Rob
Yeah.
Crest, how you doing? Big shout out to you, buddy.
And how long does he spend like in the summertime at the beach, at Orchard when we go? He puts in the time.
He definitely
And I try
does.
to put in the time too because I love to put in the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that when I see you metal detecting, especially in your live streams, like I know what the situation here is in New York. You swing your detector and you get 100 signals, in one swing. And when I see your live streams and I see what you're looking for, you know what I mean? Those 10, 11s, those quarter signals, those, silver signals, those really consistent, non-sketchy signals. I don't know. I learned so much from you. It seems like you're a vessel that has like all the information for how to get the good stuff, and I'm trying to absorb as much of that as possible when I watch your videos.
I'm honored that you say that, and I think a lot to it is inference. Getting to know your detector. I'm telling you, another guy who blew me away, a detector prodigy, Jackpot G. Lars.
Jackpot with his
Dude,
Garrett.
with a Garrett AT Pro, I'll never
Definitely.
forget it. I was trying so hard trying to cherry pick Indian head pennies. I had four. He had something like 16. Then he stayed behind and pulled like another 10. So, there's understanding your detector, understanding your tools, listening, to the tones that are giving. It's the ultimate game of inference. If you can infer what a signal is, and what something, if it's worthwhile or not, it really makes your digging more targeted. So I try to be very targeted with what I choose to dig and what I don't.
Definitely. And I think, well, let me ask you, do you think having used the Safari and Bounty Hunter and the Nocta Amphibio and now your Nox, and even maybe the Beach Hunter, that pulse induction machine do you think that helped you to learn what you know now, especially since it seems to be using the Nox exclusively in most of your videos?
That's a fantastic question right there. The answer is I'm still trying to figure that out. The idea is, look, I don't really. Well, yes, I just splurged on a scooter because I need to get to Dead Horse Bay. That's a whole nother long story that you'll hear soon. But for the
Yeah,
most part, I don't drink. Yes, I have a Taco Bell problem. Yes, I have a Haagen-Dazs problem. But it's really food or metal detecting, okay?
right.
And I think that the other detectors gave me a perspective. But I think that the geniuses in the field, they have an understanding of their detector. And that's
Definitely.
why I've been spending so much time with the Equinox. Having that said, I could see myself by the end of the year, I want to get the XP Deus.
Okay.
That's one of my goals. But I want to know, like, what is the best piece of equipment out there right now?
Hmm.
And I want to um, I want to be able to fully understand it because every time that you restart that process, you're taking the rug out from under you and you're restarting it again.
Yeah, you have to relearn the new machine, what it means, and how the signals come out. How does this sound up? How does that?
And the Nocta just did not make sense to me in the same way. And I think part of it was that I used the Safari before I used the Equinox, and
Hmm.
they're very similar. But
Yeah, both Mind Lab.
yeah,
Do you think? Well, okay. I remember last year before you had gotten the Amphibio, you were sort of doing research on what new detector to get. You had decided to go with the Amphibio, and you were singing its praises in a way. And I was also looking in the market for a new detector, and I had gotten the Equinox. When you had first used the Equinox, I remember we were on Orchard Beach. I lent you my machine. I was using your Beach Hunter that day.
Good times.
What clicked for you and said, wait a minute, maybe I should have gotten the Nox?
The clarity of the signals. It is just crystal clear with what if you have to swing it slow. That's what I have learned. You have to swing it slow. You have to learn what to listen to with what you choose to dig. But if you do that, you can get some really, really great stuff. There's weaknesses to it too. Guess what? It can go deep if it's a bigger object. I would say your coin radius, I don't know, maybe 10 inches with that. There are other detectors that go deeper than that. But in terms of separating signals, like you really could get, even if it's just within a few centimeters or a centimeter, you could pick out that iron versus that coin signal.
Definitely.
And that's what makes it a real game changer. Other detectors, even the Safari, would blend it together. And
interesting.
I could not wrap my brain around the Nocta. I think, and you know what? I'll go as far to say I think that's a better detector than the Safari. I do. It doesn't go it does go as deep as the Safari. I take that back. But the thing, the clarity. There's just a clarity to the signals of the Equinox. And that's why you walk around to a park, you look at what people's detectors are, it's almost unanimous nowadays. The price point is right, and the quality that you get for the price point is fantastic.
Definitely. Just to be clear about the detector you use, is it a 600 or 800?
I use the 600. Okay. And I see a question in the chat.
From Willie, yep.
Willie, what's up? Willie, how are you? Thank you for all of the support. I always look forward to seeing your name in the chat. And one of these days, look forward to detecting with you. I use Park 2. I use, let's see, sensitivity somewhere between 19 and 21.
Yep. I usually use try to get to the higher end, but if I'm in a clear area, I'll crank it up to 23 or 23.
And I'm telling you, my coil is down to the grass. I mean, it is just, you could see the friction burns on it. It is just down to as far down as you could go.
You know, I was cleaning my detector a few weeks ago.
I saw that. Yeah,
and I had noticed that the bottom had all these scratches on it, that plastic covering, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure in 2 or 3 years I'm going to have to get a new one just because I swing the coil so low to the ground.
And you know what? Lou just made an interesting point. Park 2, yep, that's what I use Recovery 2. Yes. You get a little bit deeper in Recovery 2, I find. Although Recovery 3 I've been messing around with. I'm still trying to master it. I'm still, again, detectors go as far as the inferencing that you do with them. They're just a tool. You know, it's really just in here.
And it really depends on the area, too. Like, what works in Prospect might not work in Ferry Point, you know.
Or Ferry Point. I love that park, but oh my God, talk about a detecting challenge.
But can we talk about Ferry Point for a little bit? Because you had detected Ferry Point so much because when you drive home from work, it's on the way, right? And you want to beat the traffic going home, so you stop at Ferry Point, you detect until all that traffic is done.
Yep.
And so COVID-19 sort of changed the way you detect.
In that it made me go to different parks?
Yeah, well, in that now you don't have to travel to work sort of every day. You work from home. So you detect in the morning and at night. You know, you don't just detect on your way home from work and only Ferry Point Park. You do different parks every day, almost twice a day now, it seems. It seems like since COVID-19 hit, you've been detecting on a daily basis, putting out videos almost on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that a bit?
Yeah, I want to, listen, it's not about the number of subscribers you have.
No.
It's the story that you tell. It is you want to look back on your life and you want to be proud of different eras in your life. Right now, I'm so motivated to tell this story about metal detecting. I want to bring new metal detectorists into metal detecting.
Oh yeah.
Um, that's one of my goals. And it's just when you have the opportunity to make videos, you do it. Um,
Definitely.
and that's where I'm at right now. I just like this. I want to go out day after day. I'm never bored of it.
I
And
mean, who wouldn't? If you had the opportunity to and the means to
correct,
just go out detecting every day, who wouldn't?
correct. Yeah, no, that's exactly where I'm at. So I get up early
Mhm.
and I go to sleep late. And during the day, my kiddos need me.
Mhm.
So and my job needs me. So I do that. And I try to. It's a good balance. It
Yeah.
feels good. There's some days that I just need to sleep, so
Mhm.
I sleep. And anytime that I sleep late, I'm like, oh man, I wish I went detecting. But sometimes you got to recharge.
Yeah. Now you have consistently been finding good stuff like this past month. I have a question here that I've wanted to ask you.
Yep.
Have you ever found something and said, "Wait, I'm not going to put this in a video"? And I'm not talking about like chump change or whatever, but something really good or really interesting or maybe really dangerous, and you said, "Wait a minute, I'm not going to not this item."
Not really.
No?
Because it tells a story, and you want to tell an honest story.
Right.
And me, I know a lot of people get upset with me. I think more people would invite me out, but they know that the videos will attract more people to their places, and I totally get that.
Yeah.
Especially if you're somebody that like holds on to that one park.
Mhm.
Then you don't want anybody else hunting that park. And I was there. I'm not going to like hate on anybody for feeling that way.
Mhm.
But the bottom line is, in an economy, any economy does not happen in isolation.
Right.
And you learn more from detecting around other people. You go to more places, you get pushed out of your comfort zone
Yeah.
more. That is
Definitely.
where my growth as a detectorist has happened. And it's really the fairest trade of them all. You give up some of your favorite places, and you get some in return, and you see what people are swinging, how they swing, what they do, what they pull.
Mhm.
Like for instance, when one of you guys pulls a ring, what's my first question? Where did you guys pull it from? Not the exact location, but
Mhm.
if it's on a beach, is it high, high tide line? Is it low tide
Right.
line?
You want to
And
know where stuff is accumulating. You're looking for information to maximize your finds, maximize the good finds.
there you go. Yep.
Definitely. Um,
Yep.
just going back to a point you just made, some people in New York don't like the fact that me, you, Lou, are making these videos and putting them out. I've had comments, you've had comments, especially when it's Prospect Park. A few people have told us, in the comment sections, you know, don't detect in our park, or why are you doing this, or why are you doing that. It seems like they're afraid that we're drawing too much attention to ourselves.
The
Um,
bottom line is that it's a public place. It
mhm,
does not belong to me. It does not belong to you. It does not belong to them. It's
that is
public.
true.
And the truth is about metal detecting, it's as long as we have coins, as long as we have objects that get dropped, it's going to be fine. I was thinking about it, and the pennies that are out nowadays, the Zinkins, with the shield on the back,
Yeah.
they're totally different than the memorials. We hate finding memorials, but you
Oh
know what?
yeah.
The next generation of detectorists, they're going to treat that like wheat cents.
Maybe,
That's their
perhaps.
generation of wheat
I
cents.
think the zinc pennies would just deteriorate in a way that the wheat pennies won't, and
I
that's
hate
sort of
them.
unfortunate.
Yeah, it's the biggest threat to metal detecting. Although I understand
Hmm.
if it takes you 3 cents to produce 1 cent, it doesn't make sense.
Right, and in
No pun
Canada,
intended.
they've already gotten rid of their 1 cent coins. I feel like the U.S. might be heading in a similar direction.
Yeah, and we have Apple Pay, and we have other different ways that
Oh
we can,
yeah.
So that's a threat, but
Hmm.
there's still plenty to pick up.
Yeah. When last year, when you started getting big and growing your channel and putting out the series, becoming a millionaire, metal detecting, the top 1,000 channels metal detecting, there were times that you had live streams where you try to help people sort of get more subscribers and get more views with your sort of YouTube tricks. You told them, fix the about section, add channel tags. Do you think that you'll go back to doing those sort of live streams?
Yeah, the reason that I stopped was it really was not a video that I'm a data person, like
Mm-hmm.
in a school. That's my day job, and we make decisions based on the data, and the data in that showed me because I did it once and then I tried again. The
Mm-hmm.
second time there really was not receptive of that, and it could
Hmm.
be that I just did two way too close to each other. But
Yeah.
sure, if people want that, I'm happy to share that information.
I know
And
that
it's
other
like it's
channels sort of
yeah,
have they're the subscribe-a-thons, where they show off other channels,
yep,
and they seem to be successful with that sort of live stream format. And I think that you would too if you go back to it.
yeah. I just have to acknowledge a comment that just totally distracted me because I
Hmm.
love it. Opportunity knocks. In the future,
Hey,
detectors
opportunity.
will dispense Haagen-Dazs. Love it. Love that idea. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I feel like in the future they're gonna put your face on the side of the Coinstar machines just because.
That was in one of my raps.
Yeah, that's gonna be that would be so funny.
I think Coinstar hates me though because I put I don't. They're
Yeah,
not
you
totally dirty,
keep
but
jamming the machines.
I keep jamming the machines. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Why do you think that happens? Do you just not like tumble for long enough, or?
I get a lot of coins, and it's a lot of time in order to tumble.
Hmm.
And what I do is I shake them. I put them in a glass bottle, and I shake them.
Okay.
And basically, it gets the dirt off of the sides,
Hmm.
and from there, I put it in the Coinstar machine. But anything that's bent, anything that like has been through a lawnmower,
Oh
that's
yeah,
what jams the machines.
yeah. And it's hard when because you go like with $100 or more in coins a month, and so it's hard to pick out which ones have been bent or damaged, or
Yeah,
have
it is.
a little bit more crust, or especially when you have that volume.
It's
Um,
a lot of volume.
yeah. So
Since we got 22 people here, I would like to ask if you have not subscribed to Jonathan's channel. I want to see him get to 500 tonight. That would make me very happy. If you have not subscribed, please hit that subscribe
I'm
button.
not even paying attention to where where the numbers at in terms of subs are. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Something
What's up,
happened
Ozzy?
today
Yep.
where we had a good number of subs like all at once today. So thank you for all the new subscribers if you guys are in here today watching this. So, Meryl, you want to show off some of your finds from the last month?
Yeah, man. This has been a crazy month. Let me grab them.
So,
All right. Actually, I pulled stuff from the year.
oh, from the year. Okay.
Yeah. And I brought this for sentimental reasons. Remember this one, Jonathan?
Oh yeah, Arvernice. That was sort of the
Yep.
area right adjacent to or on the other side of the boardwalk of Rockaway Beach.
Yep.
Merrill had his safari yet. He hadn't even gotten his amphibio. And that came out of nowhere in an area that I think was producing pennies, but a lot of trash too. It was producing wheat pennies, but it was producing a lot of trash. And out of nowhere, Merrill dug a crater and pulled that thing out.
Yeah,
That was an
the
amazing
Safari
story.
goes deep. That is a deep detector. No question about that. This might be my favorite coin of all time. Like it's not. I don't know if the light is going to do it justice
Hmm.
here, but this is the Connecticut Colonial Copper.
Yep.
Just baby America. This is a seed from baby America right here.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I even if you compare it to the Real,
Hmm.
like this just geeks me out. Like
Wow, that
this
real
was
is really shiny.
yeah, established country, no doubt about it. 1732, so it's older than this one. But
Uh-huh.
in terms of American history, this is America. This is a seed of American history right here. I just
Okay.
love it. I've done really well with seededs this month.
Yes, you've found a few.
Yeah, seated quarter. Last night I thought it was a barber, but
So that seated quarter, where did you pull that from?
that was whatchamacallit Park, Commodore Barry Park, which we
Commodore
both,
Barry.
yeah, we were both at Commodore Barry Park before. You had your Garrett machine,
I
and I
remember
had my
that.
Safari.
That was the day
And
we got kicked out of Brooklyn Bridge.
exactly, yep, you saved me from not getting a ticket. So thank you.
Yeah, so Brooklyn Bridge Park is a private park here in New York, and they have some sandy beach areas. So me and Meryl decided, you know what, let's go and see what we could find on these, small beaches. And we basically started, and less than 5 minutes, they were on us. You can't detect here. And so we decided to move on to Commodore Barry Park, which I believe is the one of the oldest parks in Brooklyn.
Yep.
And I think you did pull out something that day, something good. Was it a
Yeah, I got a
ring?
ring and I got a pretty epic button that day. I remember that. Um, but I'm telling you, the target separation on the Equinox is second to none.
Changes
And I
everything.
think
Yeah.
I think that that is a product of it would have been merged together with
Hmm.
another with my Safari,
Yeah.
but I can clearly hear it, and I could clearly be able to tell. Okay, yeah, this is something that I want to dig, and there it was.
So
This was earlier this year. This was a 2 cent piece. I've gotten a whole bunch of bucket listers. My Trime is in my box. I got the silver box here, and it's getting there, man. It's getting there.
wow,
We're gonna fill it.
wow.
The goal is to fill it.
Now coins like the real and the Connecticut, like do you put the
I put
real
it through
with your
Coinstar.
silver?
It's Coinstar didn't give me a penny for it. I'm really sad about that. So I had to keep it.
No, I mean, do you put
I'm kidding.
those coins with your with your silver
I'm
coins?
sorry. Say that again.
Do you put the real with your silver coins in that
No, I
box?
was told I'm not allowed to. So although I'm dying to throw it in the box because we need to fill that box,
Hmm.
um, I'm keeping that separate.
Yeah, definitely got to get like a coin flip or something for that because holy smokes. And last night you had a pretty good night.
Last night was freaking epic, man. Um, all you need to do is find the push-in beaches, and I'll give you a hint. It's the ones with the waves. It's the
Hmm.
ones with the extreme waves where you see surfers, because there's a net negative effect with effect is the wrong word. Net net negative outflow of sand, and
Okay.
that's why we have to dredge. So stuff gets sucked off the beach, and if 100% gets sucked off the beach, 40% will make it back within a year. And when there's a really big event, you get other stuff that's pushed back. So if
Yeah.
you find a push in beach, you'll be able to find stuff like this.
So
So
that's
last
a lot
night
of the
got
beaches
a,
in Staten Island are like that.
yeah, um, it got a, whatchamacallit, quarter 1957. And one of these is a barber dime. The other one of these is the seated dime. I thought they were both barbers. And then I came home and I
Wow.
was like, whoa, it's a seated. Cool.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
So, what else had you found this year? There was a silver key that you found, right,
Oh crap, the silver key. Yeah, that's
in,
I left that
in
downstairs.
Prospect Park. Yeah, but show that find that you were just showing right now. That gold ring. Where did you pull that from? That was Prospect Park
Yeah,
or
that was Mount Prospect Park.
Mount
And
Prospect Park?
it could have been, and I put a comparison signal where I pulled a pull tab
Mm-hmm.
versus the ring. They sounded pretty similar. So those midtones you got to dig. Anything that's 11, you got to dig
Definitely,
on the Equinox.
definitely. I remember. Yeah, I remember one day I was in Orchard Beach and I was just digging up pennies and pennies, and I told myself, I'm not going to dig up another penny signal. And then I get another penny signal, 21, 20, and I dug it up and it was a silver ring. And I was like, holy smokes, I am digging up every single, zinc penny signal I get just
Yep.
because I don't want to miss out on that ring. And sort of as a detectorist, you want to find the good stuff, but you don't want to get too much trash, so you try to stay away from that. But until you get that really good signal that has a trashy tone, you know what I mean?
Yep,
You don't
absolutely.
know how bad you're sort of screwing yourself by not digging those signals.
Yeah, that Tony Eisenhower video with the Equinox is it's mandatory viewing for any Equinox user.
Yes, definitely.
It just he makes a grid, and it's got numbers on it, numbered 1 through
It's sort of like a graph.
30 or 35,
Hmm.
and he puts in rings. He puts in basically lots of the stuff that he has found, and it goes to show you, especially with the rings, it could really be gold. Could be 1 through 19. It's yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, so what he does is he takes sort of jewelry pieces and he's passing them over the coil, seeing what they ring up as, and sort of putting them next to that number on the grid. And literally, gold is all over, and the silver is pretty much all over too. And tones that you might not dig up, that could be something good. And he's basically showing that you should be digging everything that you come across. So,
Jonathan, I got good news for you.
yes,
You're at 497 subscribers. Can we get this man to 500? If
close,
anybody is
close.
new here, can we get this man to 500? That would make me very happy.
Yeah, that would make me very happy too. Thanks. Do you have sort of a beach that you want to go back to this year that you haven't detected yet?
Orchard.
Orchard?
It's epic. It's really epic. The other one is the beaches in Miami. Oh man.
Oh yeah.
Oh, like that first live stream that I did down there, where we found that patch, and everybody and their mother pulled a ring, but me that night. I did get some
Who were you
jewelry.
detecting with that day? I remember you went out
That
with some people.
that was with what's his name? Vermont Derek.
Okay, I
He
think
was
he goes
there,
by
and
Metal
also
Detecting Channel now.
what happened?
I think he changed his name to Metal Detecting Channel.
Really?
Yeah,
Ah, and also Jose was there. Deteccion Caribe.
Detección Caribe. I
Yep.
remember that, and I remember
Yep.
he came to New York, and unfortunately he wasn't able to detect here. At least the beach that we had gone to.
Yeah, we met up in 2 different cities.
Hmm.
Really cool guy.
Yeah, he's amazing. His channels, he gets the most insane finds.
Yep. He's got an interesting swing too. It's
Hmm.
like the coil never leaves the sand. He just the coverage on his swing.
Hmm.
It's really
It's amazing.
impressive.
Well, you want to talk about swing coverage? Rob Crespo.
That's who I was going to bring up next. Yep.
Rob sort of has like an eagle spread of his
Yep.
detector. It's pretty amazing. Just watching sort of other people detect and trying to sort
That's
of
what I mean. You got
emulate
to
what
watch.
works.
You have to observe. If you are doing this in isolation, do yourself a favor, join a club, find another local YouTuber,
Definitely.
just make friends. It's a game changer. That's
The
a huge game
the
changer.
way I see it is everybody has pieces of information, and not everybody has the complete puzzle. So when you meet up with other people, you have to get that information from them. You know what
Yep.
I mean? You have to, ask, where did you get that? Where did you detect? What signal did it ring up as? What are you digging? That I'm not, that you're getting these finds and I'm not. And
Yep.
so that's sort of how it works that way. I remember in the beginning of the year, you had a goal that you hadn't spoke about for a while, and the goal was to detect in a certain number of states.
Yeah.
What do you think?
COVID killed that.
COVID killed that goal. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, COVID
thanks
kind of
for
killed
the
that.
4.99 subs.
Woo! All right, let's get one more. One more.
So COVID killed the goal of detecting in, what was it, 5 or 10 different states or something like that?
5 states. I've made
Five
it
states.
to 2 so far this year: Florida and New York. I think it would be pretty easy to make it to Connecticut, New Jersey. Well, I don't know. Maybe some close trips.
Hmm.
and we want to go visit Keith down in North Carolina
Oh
now.
yeah,
So that
Keith, New Level Auto, one of our group that we used to detect prospect with and Staten Island with. He's moved away to a different state, so he hasn't been, in our videos detecting with us, unfortunately.
well, it makes us travel. So
But yeah,
who knows? Maybe this I really hope it settles down. It seems to
hmm
be moving in the right direction, and then we can start talking about that goal. I'm glad you brought it up. I forgot all about it because of this craziness.
yeah, definitely. But you seem to have changed gears. I mean, the goal has now evolved into fill up the box.
Yeah, it's the lemonade thing. Like you get lemon. What's the saying?
Life gives you lemons. You make lemonade.
Right.
Maybe put some
Yep.
mint in there.
Life gives you lemons to make lemonade. So, yeah, all right, we go, and we change gears and do that. And this has been, if not the most epic silver year, definitely one of them. Actually, no,
Oh,
it has been
definitely.
the most epic silver year for me. So, and I'm looking at the box right now. We're making some good progress on
You're
this.
making progress on a daily basis, sort of consistently getting that silver. Now, I have another question for you. When you go out, you're excited to get the silver. You're saying, let's find the silver. And if it's a bust, you're like, let me not leave here until I have $1. Do you go out expecting to find silver, or do you go out just hoping you'd find silver?
That's part of my bad wiring
Hmm.
because I will dig past, like, I'm like, all right, Merrill, you got two arms. One falls off, keep swinging with the other arm. And it's not right. It's not right. If you're not feeling it, you don't do it. That's the bottom line. This silver box, of course I'm
Hmm.
trying. I'm going to try my best to do it, but I've been able to talk myself down at times. And even in the videos, I joke about it, but it's a reminder to myself that
Hmm.
no, don't make this not fun. If it's not fun, you walk away from it. It's
Yeah.
not the end of the world.
Definitely. It sort of seems like, especially with your videos and the way you've been doing it recently, there's sort of a bit of sort of when you don't get that silver, a feeling sort of like not necessarily failure, but maybe a bit of disappointment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. One, I don't. There's been a few videos that I've put out, and most of them have been live streams. For
Hmm.
instance, another one that I did in Miami, it took me 3 hours, like walking around just to find $1. And I kept it on my channel because it's like, you know what? That's metal detecting too. Because you can have those days, and they're brutal. But for the most part, like I won't make a video if, or I'll merge a few days together if I didn't get silver because it's the pursuit of something that is rare, something that is becoming scarce.
Well,
Like we're not talking about the early days of metal detecting. We're talking about days where, we've been having people hunt fields for 40 years now.
yeah,
And
definitely.
what's
Especially
left,
here in New York.
you really have to work for.
Especially here in New York, where Prospect Park has been hit a lot,
Yep.
and the density of people is so much that you to find something good, it's not as easy as just going out to this place that is old. You have to go out and search and search and search and dig through a lot of trash, and it's something that people don't necessarily see in your videos. A lot of it is edited out. Sometimes you put it in there and you're like meh, but a lot of it is not in there, like the number of bottle caps and pull tabs and aluminum foil and just space peanuts that we dig. um,
Space peanuts. Yep.
and so, in that vein, you said that sometimes when you don't find the silver, you won't make a video for a day or two. What's the pressure like to put out that good content, to not put out a video if it isn't, you know, a silver video or a ring video?
Well, it's very self-imposed.
Hmm.
And I've asked people, oh, look at you. You got to 500.
Yeah, I thanked in the chat. I thanked everybody. I told them I appreciate it, but thanks everybody. I really appreciate it. Getting to that 500 sub mark. Uh, I guess the next goal is 1,000, right?
Let's get it tonight.
That would be insane.
It's important to it's that balance in life. It's
Hmm.
very important to push yourself.
Yeah.
It is very important not to push yourself over the edge, as I sometimes do. It's important when you reach that point to talk yourself down.
Hmm.
And that's the delicate balance that you have to master as an adult. And I've been an adult for a long time, but I'm just finally getting to the point where I understand this right now.
Speaking of understanding this, not in terms of metal detecting, but in terms of YouTube, let's go back to that. Your first channel was very successful, the art channel that you had. When you started doing the metal detecting channel, did you think that you were going to get success or large number of subscribers doing it? Did you go in sort of knowing?
Well, my first group of subscribers, my first video, if you go back all the way on my channel,
Hmm.
it was in 2015. And I didn't upload again until 2019.
Okay.
So there was a big gap. And I asked people from my art channel, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be doing a metal detecting channel. And, I said something along the lines, yeah, I'm going to keep uploading my art channel, blah, blah, blah. I didn't. But
Sort of left it
I
at
got
that.
I got a jump of like it was like 400 subscribers at the
Hmm.
start,
Oh, wow.
and I held that I held that for 3 or 4 years. It decreased because eventually people the accounts close and stuff like that.
Yeah, things change.
Right,
Yeah.
things change. But I kind of started with a decent number. It gave me the catapult start, although I didn't fully take advantage of it until I started uploading in 2019.
And what was the trigger or the event or the thing that happened that made 2019 the year? Because you started uploading pretty early in 2019. I remember you were going out to Canarsie Park looking for Golden City pretty early. And so, what was the trigger that said 2019 is the year that I'm going to focus on my metal detecting channel?
Good question. I think part of it is my kids got older. And like
Mm,
when you have little, like really little people who
they
depend
require
on
more
you.
attention. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's Keithy. What's up, buddy?
Hey,
Haven't
hey,
long time no
Keithy,
see. How are you? Good to see you here.
how you doing?
Um, Before I forget and totally go off on a tangent, as I'm famous for doing, um, uh, I, when you have like kids that are like 3, 4, they need a lot of help. They need a
Hmm.
lot of assistance. And my youngest is she's a real ass kicker. She is. So it didn't last as long with her, but it was between like, okay, I got some of my time back. I got a motivation to do something, and I also want to model the process of being hell bent for them
Hmm.
because I see it in schools. The most important thing a teacher can do for a student is to model a process. And
Right.
I want them to see me go from whatever it was, 400 to 100,000, 200,000, a million, however many subscribers. I'm trying to aim high. I'm happy with whatever the outcome is,
Hmm.
but I want them to see me put in the work.
The work, right?
Yep.
Show them how to be motivated, how to have enthusiasm for something, how to build something and have motivation and be excited and be sort of like the characteristics of success.
I see a
Definitely, I
question in the
understand that.
chat. What art school did I go to? I went to
That's a good
Manhattanville
question.
College. I didn't really start art until I was 20 years old and like ready to graduate. So I spent a lot of time in the Art Students League
Hmm.
in Manhattan and, exhibited. But most of my art contributions to art happened on YouTube.
Yeah.
And that was a product of my classroom.
So let's talk about that. You don't no longer upload to that channel, but it's you draw, right?
Yeah, you draw.
So I'm just gonna type
Or you
in.
could type in my name, Merrill Kazanji, and I think that's what you search for my name, you'll
Mhm.
find the art channel before the metal detecting channel.
Yeah, it's quite a bit bigger than the metal detecting channel, but that's changing. Did you notice? I remember last year there was a time when you were sort of subscribing to a lot of YouTubers, trying to get all that information.
Yep.
It's so important, the data for the top, YouTube metal detecting channels. And at that time, your rate of growth was pretty fast. You got monetized, I think, in the middle of summer.
Yep.
And are you seeing the same growth now, a year later?
It's faster now.
It's
It
faster.
slowed down for a bit, but it's faster now. And actually, part of that is COVID. I think that people stopped uploading,
Hmm.
and if you think about it, I shut down for a month when they asked us to shelter in. Um, I did, and then I'm thinking, okay, metal detecting, that is a isolated activity, or it can be.
Hmm.
And I took the precautions. I have God knows how many bottles of hand sanitizer in my car.
Hmm.
I've been wearing a mask. It's something that's manageable with it.
Yeah,
It's social distancing activity, and it's supply and demand. If people are looking for new metal detecting content, and you're putting it out, they're going to find you. So it's part of that.
definitely.
And it's also a click in the algorithm. I mean, if you upload a lot of content and YouTube sees that big jump, they're going to start sending more people your way, and that's happening. And up to this month, my biggest growth month was, I think, 300 subscribers.
Hmm.
This month, I'm up to 1,200 subscribers, new
Whoa.
subscribers.
I'm pretty
So
sure the fines help, but also
yeah,
the way you make your videos helps. You've sort of tapped into sort of this new generation's method of thinking where things are sort of memey and funny and just, you know, making jokes and saying, "Hey, wait a minute," and stopping to talk to the audience and then coming right back into the metal detecting. The way you've edited your videos, it's sort of like formulaic in its ADHD sort of. That's the only way I could describe it. It's really random. Like sometimes you're rapping, and sometimes you have shades and a guitar, and sometimes you're in the field without gloves on, getting your hands dirty, and sometimes you're like, "Wait a minute, this is really cool. Let's stop and talk about this for a minute."
I just embrace my inner dork, and what my inner dork tells me to do, I do.
It
And
is. It's
yeah,
all over the place. But when you watch other metal detecting YouTube channels, it's very different because they don't stop to make those kind of jokes. They don't stop to sort of interact with the audience the way you do. And it's sort of like your metal detecting uh, persona. I don't know how to call it, but that sort of, you know, I'm gonna get it because look at my grills. you know,
in
it's
2009, I was invited to YouTube headquarters in New
hmm.
York City when my art channel was growing.
Hmm.
And it was some, I forget their names, but there were some like really big channels that I wrote down. I saw their name on their chest. We all had name cards. And long story short, they gave us a lot of good information. Number one is you need a lot of face time.
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter. Look, this is not made for GQ. I know that. But it's like no matter who you are, no matter what, put your face on there,
Yeah,
because it's you.
it's
And do videos the way that you like to do. And guess who else does it just like that? Jonathan Mejia.
thanks. Yeah, I do think that putting your face on a video sort of makes it more relatable. You know what I mean? It's not just looking at the dirt and hey, here's what I found, because anybody could do that.
Yeah.
But then there are some very successful YouTube metal detectorists who don't put their face in videos, and I'm talking about Robert Ferguson and New Hampshire Metal Detecting. They do a lot of beach hunting. They have a lot of subscribers, and they do it in a different way as well. So like we're talking about this, but there is no one right way to do it.
Yeah, no, it has to be from your lens.
Hmm.
Like the videos that you make, it's got to be within your comfort zone. But you have to consider like what engages people.
Hmm.
And I didn't want it to just be a show and tell, and
Right.
I wanted it to really capture the question, like what is buried in New York soil, because that's a fascinating question in itself. We have so many different
Oh yeah.
choices when it comes to metal detecting. If we're talking about being in a area that's very isolated or not built up or brand new, you're not going to have the same choices. but
Yeah.
we have from colonial history all the way up to modern.
Right.
Like we can sadly probably still pull a part of the World Trade Center. If we look at the curbs around it. If you think of it that way, I'm not going to
Yeah.
do that, but um,
Well, let's talk a little bit about this because we here in New York, I don't think people understand our situation. People not from New York City understand our situation. So, do you want to talk a bit about the process of getting a New York City metal detecting permit and the amount of places it allows us to dig?
yeah, it's a pretty easy process. They make it seamless. I mean, you have to send it in via the mail
Mm-hmm.
to the Parks Department. You get a permit, and they're pretty. Um, it shows you where you can dig. You can't dig on sports fields. You can't dig around trees, supposedly.
Mm-hmm.
They leave it loose, and it gives you a lot of options, a lot of beaches.
A
So
lot of beaches, a lot of options. I think on the permit there are over 50 parks on
yeah,
there, and some of them have special rules. Like Prospect Park, we could only do weekends, but for the most part, if the park's open, we could detect there.
right. That's
And,
right.
and that's a really big difference between what we have here. It's sort of special in New York City, where in other states, maybe their parks departments or maybe they have, state-run parks or national-run parks that don't allow metal detecting. Period. No permit, no nothing, and they have to sort of go out and get permission from farmers and people who own land. We have sort of uh, a very special, unique situation here in New York that all the videos that you see us make, it's because of that. We've been allowed to do this from the New York City Parks Department.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's a good partnership,
Hmm.
and it makes you want to take care of the space as well.
Definitely. And we always leave all the parks cleaner than when we got there. We fill up all of our holes. We do, everything we're supposed to do, everything we can do to not lose that, privilege of detecting in these parks and beaches.
You all know that I can struggle at at cutting a plug sometimes. The idea behind getting the hand of God, the shovel, that I bought is no. I want to make that. I want to make better holes, and I'm really trying to focus on that for this year.
So yeah, let's talk about that for a little bit. Yesterday, you were trying out a brand new sand scoop.
Oh man, I felt like Michael Jordan a little bit. Like that's a dream to be able. Like a company sent me something, and it's
Hmm.
like, here, can you put this in your videos? I'm like, yeah, you're sending me a free scoop, like free swag. Like that's awesome.
Now, I remember your old scoop. It was pretty heavy. At
Yep.
least, I think I've held it once or twice that scoop, and
Look at that.
to me
Look
it
at
was
that.
heavy.
Look at that. One muscle left in the body. It's from that scoop.
So do you like the new sand scoop in comparison to your old scoop?
It's a step up.
It's a step up.
Um, Yeah, it's different in terms of clearing out dirt. I think the other one cleared out dirt. It had
Had bigger
bigger holes,
holes.
but it's not designed for that. It's designed for you swish it around in the water, and it'll do a great
Hmm.
job for that. It'll lose less small objects,
Which is
and
good.
but it's got two big ups on my previous scoop. One is it's you can take it apart. You could
Hmm.
throw it in a suitcase. And when I went to Florida, it took somebody actually bringing me a scoop. Vermont Derek brought me a scoop,
Yeah, I
and
remember that.
yeah, and this time it was what you call it. This one I could just screw apart, throw it in the suitcase. But the game changer for me is the weight of it, and everybody is saying about carbon fiber shaft with the Equinox and like how what a big a difference that it makes.
Hmm.
It's the same thing with this beach scoop. It is so light, and man, the other one was so much heavier.
Definitely, and that does make a difference for how long you could detect for sort of if you're tired because you've been carrying around this big heavy scoop for so long,
Yep.
you're gonna get less time out there.
Yep.
Let's see. So you've been sort of growing our little New York community, detecting with some new detectors this year.
Yep.
So talk a little bit about Jeff and James.
Yeah, it's funny. You meet people and you click and you just keep detecting with them. Jeff, I met at Dead Horse Bay,
Hmm.
and James, I met through Jeff, and that was a big accident that happened. And James knew Lou. James is in the same metal detecting club as Lou.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so we were okay. I'll work backwards. So James, I was in that spot actually that I did the live stream from last night,
Hmm.
and along walks the detectorist, and it's like, "Hey, I metal detect too. Can I join you guys?"
Hmm.
And we're like, "Yeah, sure, of course." And do we? He's like, "Oh, I know Indiana Tones." I'm like, "Wait, you know Indiana Tones?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're in the same detecting club." So small world, and it's like, "Oh, okay." And find another passionate detectorist, because our group is hardcore. That I'm really
Our
proud of.
group
Every single
is,
one of us, we just live and breathe detecting.
yeah, definitely.
That's crucial, and you feed off of that. I think part of the reason that I don't want to say I lost the love for the arts. A lot of the people that I started doing it, we started having families, and they stopped doing the art. And you just
Hmm.
need that competitive that charge from other people. It contagious. That's the word that I'm looking for. That contagious energy.
Definitely.
Yeah, I really enjoy the group that we have.
Hmm.
Good people who work, who detect really seriously.
Yeah, and I sort of to feed off of what you're saying, it's a very different feeling when you're out there. Let's say you're out there on a beach and you find a ring and you're happy to yourself. What as opposed to there's other people around you also metal detecting and you find a ring and you're happy to share that ring with someone else. Say, hey, look what I found, and everybody sort of gets excited. There's sort of like this collective detecting consciousness. When you're with other people, it sort of feels different. You know
Yep, yep,
and
absolutely.
that definitely keeps you going. Our group has been, expanding ever since last year. To me, there's Marilyn and Dennis who are in the chat, I believe. Dennis Foster or Detectaholics New York City. They have both of those YouTube channels. Dogstar Blazer, that's Carlos, also awesome detectorist. There's Rob
Legend.
Kress. Now there's Jeff and James. Do they have YouTube channels?
Jeff does. He's starting his, but Jeff's only been detecting for 6 months.
Okay.
Talk about a hardcore person. He started. He was interested in detecting and finally took the plunge. And he saw the Dead Horse Bay videos.
Ah,
So
yes.
now, well, hold on, Jonathan. So again, yes, I make Dead Horse Bay videos, but who taught me about Dead Horse Bay?
I sort of remember that day. We had I had first suggested, you had picked me up, and we were, I think that was the day we were supposed to go to St. Mary's Park in the Bronx.
Yep.
And so, for those who don't know, St. Mary's Park in the Bronx is the site of a plane crash, and there's a sort of news footage of this plane crash in the Bronx from years ago. But the day we went, it was very icy. Things were sort of what do you call it, sectioned off, and just wasn't a good opportunity to detect that park. So I had suggested, let's go to Coney Island. So we went to Coney Island, and it was sort of a bust over there as well. During the off season, when there are no depositors on the beaches become very difficult to detect in terms of getting consistent good things. There were just so many bottle caps, just the wind, throwing the sand everywhere. And then from Coney Island, I had said, there's another place. It's not that far, Dead Horse Bay. Let's try it out. And that
Yep.
day, I remember you had gotten a Mercury. Was it you that got? I remember I had found a Mercury, but you had found a Mercury too that day
Yep. Surface.
on the surface, and we didn't know. See, this is the thing I was talking about, information. The more information you have, the better off you are. We didn't know not to go with metal detectors. We went with our metal detectors.
Yeah,
What
that's
were
how
we
we found the
thinking?
mercuries the first time.
Yeah, but like, what were we thinking?
Yeah, the periphery of it you can detect. It is so impossible, when you
That
get to the
place.
section that's But oh man, what a place!
It's like
What an
metal
amazing
detecting
place.
on a metal plate. It's just the entire thing is huge, huge
Let's
signal.
put it this way: Adele has found two Morgan dollars there, and one of them, the latest one, it was a surface find.
Definitely. So let's talk about Dead Horse Bay. The people hear us talking about it. They know what you find there. But the history of Dead Horse Bay, why is this place there? Why are there so many things on the surface to be found?
Robert Moses cluster beep. Um,
It's okay, you could curse. This is an
yeah,
adult channel.
okay, Robert Moses clusterfuck. There we go. I said it. Yeah, so eminent domain was called, and it had served as an area that garbage was brought in, or the industries that were not really wanted in other parts of the city. That's what Dead Horse Bay was, and you had this group of New Yorkers who it's the off the grid New Yorkers, the people who just did not, the outlaws.
Hmm.
They wanted to live life their own way. They put up with the smells, and it's they had the worst industries right there. They had horse rendering plants, glue factories,
Yeah.
um,
So they basically
fish
process the
refineries.
horses to
Yep,
make brushes and glues, and they use the meat and the hides to make leather. And there was a shoe factory there, and there were fish processing plants. Basically, if it was a place that was big and had industry that you didn't want in your backyard, it was at Dead Horse Bay. And it was smelly, and it wasn't the best place to be. And eventually, once those industries were out of use, then they turned it into that landfill.
yep. And Robert Moses did the dumping for the city. You
Hmm.
find a lot of 1930s, 1940s, 1950s stuff
Hmm.
right there. And it took in New York's garbage, but it was capped very poorly.
Hmm.
And there was an event that happened, I believe, in the 1960s, and the garbage started leaking out, and really it came to the public consciousness through the internet.
Hmm.
um, but people have been, mudlarking there for a very long time.
And it's a weird situation because this is a national park,
Yep.
and so they can't go and remove all this stuff because it's supposed to be protected for natural purposes for the wildlife and all that stuff. So they are protecting this historic garbage, just like they are not going to go and clean this up. And
It's a
there's some good stuff
philosophical
to be
question.
found there.
It's like, are you cleaning it, or are you pillaging, taking stuff from it? It's a fascinating question. It's like the what is art question.
So speaking of questions, Michael Swan 66 had a question here in the chat. He
Yeah,
said, "Might you be able to hunt Dead Horse Bay with Wesley Snipes with the Snipes coil?"
I've thought about it. I've definitely thought about it. Although I used that in one of the videos. I used it because I went with Keith DeFazio,
Hmm.
and he had the sniper coil with the same thought.
Hmm.
And yeah, the video that I did in January, Dead Horse Bay, it was quite impossible to do it with that. I want to try again, though, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, it seems like I don't know. In terms of finding crazy things, like old things, just like that you won't find anywhere else, Dead Horse Bay is the place to go. But in my opinion, metal detectors leave that home. you know, for Dead Horse Bay, you want a good pair of probably waders or water boots or rain boots, something to that effect. A good pair of gloves, and a tool to rake the sand. And that's something that you learned from Adele.
Yep.
So you want
Yeah.
you want to
In
speak about
fact,
Adele
the
for a
tool
bit?
that I have, she gave to me. So she calls me a nincompoop. Everybody, if she's mean to you, it means she likes you. And I love that woman. She's just, she is viral material number one. Absolutely
She's
fascinating,
definitely a
fascinating
character.
person.
Yeah,
But also, what you don't always see is the big heart that she has.
she's definitely a character. How did you meet her?
She saw one of the videos, And again, the person that I thank is you, because you're the guy who introduced me to Dead Horse Bay. So she saw one of my videos,
Hmm.
or maybe it was your video, and she thought that she mixed us up or something, because I think you were with me that day that I met Adele.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think I was there. That was when the
Yeah,
boat was still on Dead Horse Bay.
and the boat was still there, and we snapped that picture with her.
Yeah, I remember that. Speaking of pictures, do you remember that day that we took a picture in sort of the most famous place to take a picture in New York City?
I do, in the down by that was the Brooklyn video.
Yeah, in Dumbo. That was so cool. I definitely want to do more things like that and just get more sort of iconic city detecting going on. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do the cherry blossoms this year. Last year, the first hunt in Prospect Park was during the cherry blossoms when they're all blooming, but because of the whole COVID-19 thing, that didn't happen this year. Maybe for next year,
So
we'll get
one
that
of
going.
the I'll brag on Jonathan's behalf. One of the reasons you should subscribe to this guy, brilliant. He's got a background in botany. He knows a little bit of everything about plants. Knows a lot about science. And again, you make your videos through the lens of knowledge that you have. And he reads a lot, very wide lens. So if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. I know he got over 500 now, but let's get him to 1,000.
Yeah, hopefully that would be awesome. To get over 1,000 subscribers. I know you've done it. Indiana Tones has done it. I don't think there's other sort of YouTube detectorists that have gotten the amount of views that you and Lou have. You two are like top tier in our
Oh
group.
no, not even close. You mean like nationally or in New
Well,
York?
in New York, yeah, amongst the New York City
Oh, amongst New York.
detectorists. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess. I guess.
Speaking of New York City detectorists, did you detect with Tracy this year as well?
She pointed me in the direction of a park,
Mm-hmm.
but no, I have not detected. No, actually, we did. She came to one of my live streams. I take that back. No, I was live streaming in Prospect Park. She
Mm-hmm.
came down. She was like, "Merrill, I saw you were live streaming." Gave me a hug, and
Oh wow.
yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, she seems like a really awesome person. She shared her
Yes,
location with you, and I think you found Big Silver that day.
I did. Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, I do have that
You
here.
have it there? All right, let's show off
I
that Big
do.
Silver that you found at that location that was shared with you by Tracy. What's her name on YouTube now? Tracy's Treasures, New York City,
Pennsylvania.
New York and Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Let's see, it's the 1943 one. It's one of these. I have found 3 of these in my life. Let me turn on the light. Hold on. It's getting dark.
I could put up your brightness, Meryl. You don't. I could put up his brightness as well. Let me go to filter, and
Sorry.
it's all good.
Yeah, I found 3 of
That's
these in
color.
my life detecting. And getting Big Silver, oh man, that's a rush. That is an absolute rush. I think it's this one, although my eyes are pretty terrible these days, was the one that I pulled
Wow,
that day.
that's beautiful.
Yeah,
Sort of. So that's a standing Liberty right half.
yeah, half.
That is amazing. Yeah, and it's sort of one of those things where our community, sort of, as we're putting out this content, people are finding us and they're joining in. Um, Jeff and James, they want to start their channels. Tracy just got her detector this past Christmas, 2019. She's been detecting for 5 months, almost 6 months only, and she's found so much silver. She's done amazing things in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
And
No, you meet great people. You
mhm,
meet, really, detectorists always have a backstory. Hieronymo, I don't know if you remember him. He's a animation and video game making big shot.
mhm,
I met him in Prospect Park. He sent me an email. He's like,
I
"Yeah, I live
remember
right by
that.
Prospect Park," and
I remember that.
really, really talented people. And it makes sense. You need a long attention span to detect, and you got to have that grit to really stick with detecting, because I'm telling you, you're going to
Definitely.
get frustrated. And people who have high frustration tolerances, it's been proven again and again. Um, it's not IQ, it's grit that is the biggest indicator to success. It's been studied. We teach the students that it's that push, that inner push.
Definitely. And you definitely show that in your videos with your sort of enthusiasm and your how do we call this? Your gall, to go out there and just get it. It's palpable sometimes in your videos. Um, Especially
Thanks, buddy.
after you found one or two uh items, just things, and you feel that excitement and like, oh, I'm gonna get more, like, where's the next one? Especially last night after you found that first sort of, you were like, I don't leave a place without getting $1, and you weren't finding anything for a while, and then you got that quarter, and then you were like, I'm staying here. you know
Yep.
and then you found two more, and then Lou had found that ring last night, and it's sort of like, it's sort of like that excitement of not knowing what that next signal is going to be. But even if it's something bad and trashy, you don't lose it. You don't lose that feeling, that excitement that you have, that you sort of go getting, you know.
The other thing, although it's I'm far from a picture of health with my taco habits and all that.
Hmm.
The amount of exercise that you get doing it, it's pretty good.
Oh
It's
yeah,
decent. So you get your steps in.
I'm out of practice. I have to admit that.
No, but I remember you said that the day that you came back in the Bronx hunt that we did,
Hmm.
Ferry Point Park. You were like, I'm tired after that. Yeah, you get there's a certain physical fitness that you need to this.
My legs were
And
so
do I
sore.
want to have pack abs at this point in my life? Hell no. But I want to be able to be healthy,
Hmm.
and you get sunlight, you get exercise, and you never know what is going to be dug up next. What's better than that, really?
Definitely, especially in New York. There's so many parks that we haven't hit. There's so many, there are beaches in New York that we haven't hit.
Correct.
It's hard to think about that, but especially with the amount of places we've been to Rockaway, to Dead Horse Bay, to Coney Island, to Orchard Beach. I've been to Brighton Beach, and I think I went last year to Plum Beach. I've been there once. I've been to and, just us as a group, Manhattan Beach. I think I went with Rob Crespo last year. But there's just so many places. New York is not just a small place; it's a huge area, and there are places that we haven't been to.
That's the thing. I've been to. I'd say when I started really focusing on this channel, I had been to maybe 40% of New York, I estimated.
Hmm.
And maybe I'm up to about 45% now. And, I'm really starting to get to know my way around. And we're talking about somebody who's lived 41 years in New York City.
Hmm.
So it's vast. It really is vast.
Yeah, I had an idea. Now that we're talking about this, it sort of came when I was editing the last video where I was showing the maps of the parks that we're detecting in, and I was thinking, what if I just put a pin on the map and just every time I make a video, put a pin on the map. Where is this? And just see how that map gets populated with pins everywhere. Of where I've been. I thought that would be a cool idea.
I think that would look tacky.
Tacky. Just put a little tack. That's hilarious. Um, we're going to take questions from I mean, we've been doing it before, but if you have any questions for myself or for Meryl, leave them in the comments, sorry, not the comments of the video, the chat of the video, because we are going to be taking questions. So I think Willie had put up a question. What can you do with all the old wheat cents that you find? So what do you do with your wheat cents?
Me?
Yes, you.
Hoard them?
You hoard them? Yeah, I sort of hoard them too.
That's what the cool kids do.
Yeah, I had a video where I was sort of showing off all the wheat cents, and I have a jar, but you have like this huge bucket of wheat cents.
Not to be morbid, by the time I die, I want to be able to fill that with wheat cents. So my kids, they just go through it and they're like, what the hell's wrong with him? And they'll get a laugh.
That's pretty funny. Do you do anything else sort of with the coins other than hoarding them? I know some people who try to fill up their coin books or sort of try to get every year. Do you do anything like that, or is it just in the bucket, not even to
Eh,
look at the year?
the honest answer to that is my vision isn't good enough anymore.
Hmm.
Like I don't have time to break out the microscope and look at the dates anymore.
Mm.
Um, so I throw them in the cigar boxes, and that's why I want to fill this box.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. So Metal Detecting Brooklyn asks, have you ever tried Owl's Head Park?
No, I have not.
Yeah, me neither. We have to look into that. One of the things that Merrill has put me onto, this is information that I've gotten from him, is to look up an area on historic aerials before you go. See how old the park is. How long has that place been, used as a park, or how long has that grass or area been there? And that gives you an idea about the things that you can find there.
Yep,
So Willie says, "How about the silver? Have you ever sold any of the silver items that you've gotten?"
I've given a few away.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was people that I've tried to talk into detecting. Like I remember I went to an end of year function at my school,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy who's my principal right now is a very close friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And he's wired just like me. We were born 2 days apart, and we could practically finish each other's sentences.
Oh,
And I
that's
had a
amazing.
big silver day, and I'm like, look, this is for you, take this. This is for you, take this. Now, go find some. And like I said, we have the thing from my school. We fundraised for detectors, and we don't have students right now in the building. We have students, but we're doing online classes, so we didn't get a chance to do that. So he was the first person. I'm like, look, you take this detector and go. I know you're my boss, but guess what? In this case, no, you're not. Go and take this detector, go find silver. And he did.
Oh
So,
wow.
yeah,
So you're trying to convert people to metal detectors,
it
sort of.
happens when you're passionate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I remember just on that silver subject, you had found sort of this piece. I think it was at Dead Horse Bay that was sort of like an art piece by Silversmith or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Pierre Smed, his name is Persmed, and he was somebody who exhibited at the Met.
Mm-hmm.
And here I am in the middle of this, trash yard from uh, 1930s to 1950s Americana, and
Mm-hmm.
there's this beautiful silver piece that just worth. I mean, other things that are smaller were selling online for $2,000. Found it right on the ground at Dead Horse Bay.
Do you think you would ever sell that piece?
Oh hell no!
No, it's yours. You want it.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Um, So you currently have that box that you're filling up. You currently have that wheat penny sort of container that you're filling up. You have the ring box that you're filling up. Uh, do you ever plan to do sort of a display or to show off your finds in a way that's more, visually appealing?
You don't think my wares are visually appealing?
I mean,
I'm kidding.
I've seen other detectorists sort of have those boxes, sort of with the clear cover where they, nicely display all their coins and they put it up on their
No,
wall.
you're right. Gone Diggin' has the relic room,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
you see, I just have time to sleep, eat, be a good dad, think of some rap lyrics, make some videos,
Hmm.
and metal detect. And that balance is like it's a really good balance right now in
Yeah.
my life. And I don't think about displaying them. I only started organizing them the month of that I was indoors with COVID,
Hmm.
and I didn't have COVID, but I mean, when we were forced to stay in.
So, we have a few more questions.
I see one. Terry Burnett. Can we get Merrill to say MEH?
Yeah.
MEH? No, meh.
Meh. That's something that you sort of put on your channel that you sort of made whenever you found trash, and that's sort of like the part of the culture I was talking about. Just watching your channel, you sort of have like these rituals. When you find trash, you say meh, and you can't say Meryl without meh, and it's just so funny. Like, how do you come up with the things that you come up with?
I'm just quirky as hell, and I just rock
Quirky.
it, man. That's it. Like that, I just say what honestly comes out of my mouth. I try to be a good person. I don't want. Meh is harmless,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like yeah, I'm annoyed at this. On to the next.
Right.
So that just became my.
It's sort of like a catchphrase. Like if you had a TV show, you know,
Although I'm noticing lately, I have been transitioning to Yunk.
Yunk.
Like yeah, Yunk. With the picture. It's the what is it called? An umlaut in German. The dot dot over it.
Hmm.
Yunk. It's Yunk.
That's funny. And yeah, other detectorists they have something similar where they find a Zinkin and they go stinkin' Lincoln,
Yep.
and so it sort of goes along with that. Another question we had from the chat was from MG. He says, "Why are there so many marbles at Dead Horse Bay?"
Because people clearly lost their marbles.
Uh,
Clearly,
it's sort of like marbles were a staple in, if you're a
marbles.
kid, you played with marbles back in the day.
They were the iPhone before iPhones.
Everyone had marbles back in the day. And because of just the time period that was thrown there at Dead Horse Bay, that's just what happens to wash up. But it's pretty interesting that there's so many. Do you have sort of a marble collection now?
Yeah, I kind of do.
It's
Yes.
getting there, right?
Yep.
um, Sorry, just reading the chat really quick. Tinks asks, "Do you ever plan to do a doodle while out detecting?" What?
It means art.
Oh, art. Do you plan on actually in the beginning of last year, you were doing live streams where you were drawing different metal detecting channels. Do you plan to get back to that? Probably not.
I don't know. It's just it didn't it stressed me out.
Mhm.
Like the whole realistic drawing thing in the first place stressed me out, and that's why I was like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Mhm.
Um, it was something that I thought would build the channel, but I just I don't feel like it.
Right.
Ask me
Uh,
question about good Russian accent and where in the world am I from? I'm really a mutt, so a bunch of different nationalities.
mhm.
But my last name is Armenian, and Armenia has since changed the name of the country to Kardashia.
Mhm.
It's changed. So my last name is from Kardashia. Used to be called Armenia.
Yeah. Um
Not really,
so you had
Yeah.
said that you were drawing other, YouTube metal detectorists, in hopes that to get views, like to build traction for your channels. Uh
Yep.
do you somehow how do you balance that? How do you balance doing what you think is going to get views for your channel and doing what you like?
Um, what I was trying to do then was get momentum. I have some momentum now,
Right.
and it's a matter of uploading and just continuing with that and really engaging. And I think you have to try things, and sometimes they fail miserably.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my raps probably the videos get more dislikes than usual videos where I don't rap, but I'm having so much fun with that I can't stop that. And
Billie Eilish.
yeah, right. Yeah, that one has like a ton of dislikes, but that it's okay. It's somebody saying I don't really want this, but okay. But you also have to go with where your creative streak takes you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's part of making a believable channel because it has to be tolerable for you. That I'm having fun with. Whereas at one point in my life, like making these super realistic drawings was fun, but not right now.
Right. And it sort of seems like just going out metal detecting, you say it yourself, when you haven't gone out for a few days, you sort of get like an antsy sort of to
Bouncing
go
off the
out.
walls? Yeah. Yep.
Definitely. Do you think that COVID-19 will have any lasting effects? Like after COVID-19 is over, do you think it'll have any lasting effects to how we metal detect, how we go out? and sort of do our hobby.
I think that. Excuse me. Sorry, my legs are getting tired.
Hmm.
Um, I think that I gotta stretch. Have you ever had somebody stretch in the middle of your interview, Jonathan?
No, but this is pretty
Yeah,
funny. Let's watch.
there we go. Um, I think that it is a real. It's forced innovation. For
Hmm.
instance, yeah, schools. We're talking about bringing people back on a schedule that does not have as many people in the building. So we would talk
Interesting.
about like online classes for 3 days of the week, and for the other 2 days, the kids would come in, but so that it would be planned, not as many people would be in the building. And it led to innovations.
Hmm.
That's an innovation. It forces you to use new technology. I think it has changed detecting. Like look at how it has affected our beach season.
Hmm.
We're not getting as many people in the water. And okay, you could cry about that, say, "Oh, I'm not going to detect this year," or you could just hit the parks hard.
Yeah.
So I'm going to hit the parks hard. It's not all that bad.
So
We
for
we
those
just
that don't know for those who are like, what are you guys talking about in terms of beach season? Because it is sort of local news. In New York City, the beaches are closed to swimmers. It's not that there's less people swimming; it's that swimming is not allowed. And this is very different than Florida and California, where you see people going out to the beaches. And I think Texas too has a few a shoreline. Um, they're allowing people to go out and swim. In New York City, you're not allowed to swim if there's no lifeguards on duty, and there are no lifeguards on duty. They haven't, the mayor de Blasio hasn't, set that in motion. And sort of it's put a stop on the beach hunting season here in New York City. And you see that in our videos. And Merrill's constantly hitting up parks now when normally between Memorial Day and Labor Day, he'll be at the beach.
yep.
And so that's when the beach season normally is, when the lifeguards are on duty between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Um, so that's sort of like a local news thing that,
Last year was the most epic beach year ever.
oh
It
yeah,
really was.
Orchard Beach was very, very giving. Um, I mean, not only Orchard, Coney Island as well, but Orchard specifically.
Yep.
We have a very diverse array of beaches here in New York. Orchard is sort of like a bay beach where if something falls down, it's not going to be hit with waves, it's not going to be moved around. You basically find it where it was dropped, which is very different than Coney Island and Rockaway, where you have sort of that open ocean waves coming in and out and pushing things. And so sometimes things accumulate in the high tide line. And in other beaches like in Staten Island, maybe things are a bit lower, because they're being pushed in from the ocean.
Yeah. No, it's like detecting two totally different beaches.
Yeah,
Like you said, because of the waves.
definitely. And sort of the cuts too. I remember when we first went out to Rockaway, it was because I had read in the newspaper that there was a huge cut in the sand, and you go there and you see that the sand is above your head. Like the cut was extreme.
I see a question from Terry, and
Hmm.
Terry, I want to say thank you for all the support. I've seen your comments, and really, thank
Oh,
you.
that's a great question.
How do you handle the tourist that asks you what you're doing?
It's not
I
only
can't help it.
tourists.
Like this face again, it was never made for like a magazine or anything like that. GQ, they'd laugh at me, but it's a friendly face, and I think people see me. They're like, "Oh, there's a friendly person. Let's ask him questions."
Hmm.
It's part of my entire demeanor. So I've gotten used to it, and I embrace it, and it's made me more approachable. But it's funny, those conversations, they can lead to good tips. I've
Hmm.
gotten good tips from those conversations, like, oh, you should try this park or that. This used to be there. I'm like, okay, let me try that. I've done that, and it's worked out well. Um,
Definitely. You never know who's going to give you just the right information that you need to hear.
yep, yep.
I know for myself, a lot of times, not so much in the parks, more on the beaches, you get approached by people and it's always the same questions. They're curious. They want information from you. What do you find? What has been your best find? Why are you doing this? What are you doing?
Yeah.
And at times, I think it was in Lou's video. At times they have misinformation. This guy had asked Lou in one of his recent videos, "Hey, is that a Geiger counter?" It's so funny because, like, no, we're not looking for radiation. We're looking for metal. It's a metal detector. But
Look
yeah.
at the a comment here. We always say we're the Ghostbusters. Um, Don Casper DeFore says they could submit some vids to the Travel Channel or a history. I'm friends um, who are on shows who have been there. That's a good idea. I'm a big fan of if somebody has a suggestion, why the heck not try it?
Yeah. My email is sorry to plug this in right now, but my email is right here, jmejia1187@gmail.com. If anybody would like to be on the Detecting Zone, send me an email. I have Merrill on today, and next week I'm going to have Carlos, Dogstar Blazer, on the show, but I'm looking to do more interviews to get to know more people. Also, Merrill's email, he just put it in the chat. Kazanij,
You
I
can't
can't
spell
pronounce
my last
that.
name.
Kazanjian M. So
Yep, that's it.
Kazanjian M at gmail.com. If you'd like to get in contact with him in terms of any anything you would want to get in contact with him about. So yeah. Were there other questions? I thought I saw another one. Metal Detecting Brooklyn said different with COVID. Don't know what you mean. I mean, metal detecting certainly is different. We're not hitting up the beaches now, like we would have. We are keeping more distance from each other. Um, yeah. How was it at Prospect Park when you went out,
Packed,
Merle? Packed. Yeah.
absolutely packed,
Yeah. I had
like scary packed.
yeah.
Like one day I went and I was like, no, this is too packed, and that actually it changed my direction from there. I went back, but I would go in mornings. Um, big crowds. I'm telling you, last summer, when we were at Orchard Beach and there were so many people, that got me over the social phobia of carrying a detector in public. It just doesn't bother me anymore. But just the COVID thing, I'm like, okay, look, it doesn't only affect me; it affects my family.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I left early one day with Prospect.
Yeah, I think I know what he was talking about now when he says about COVID. When you get people approaching you to ask you questions, is it different now with COVID?
Not if I start coughing.
That's funny. Um, yeah, to be honest, things are different, and everybody's sort of anxious for things to open up to get back to the way they were, and everybody's sort of slightly afraid of a second wave. That people are talking about. You hear it all the time in the news that there might be a second wave now that things are opening up again. We just have to wait and see what happens. But metal detecting is a very strange. Well, not strange, but it's a very uh, sort of solitary thing. You can't be close to other detectorists. You have to have your space to metal detect. And even when we go out in groups, when I go out with Meryl or with other people, we don't want to interfere with each other's detect. If you find something good, of course, you call people over and they're looking. But we sort of go to an area and spread out. And so it hasn't stopped us in that sense.
Yep. Hey,
Oh,
Keith's in the chat. What's up, Keith?
hey Keith, how you doing? Willie says he doesn't like people around him when he's metal detecting, so that's why he goes out in the early mornings. And I definitely understand what he means. And I think Meryl, recently you had an experience when you were in the park, and you had some kids around you. You want to talk about that?
Oh my God! Look, I twice in 2 days. Okay,
I'm sorry.
I will be friendly. I will be friendly. I'm not gonna. I'm an educator. I'm not gonna be rude to a kid.
Hmm.
But the mom was not picking up on my cue. Like I have kids, they're like 2 feet away. They're just and they're being rude also.
Hmm.
And I smile at the mom. I'm like, hey, I'm like, yeah, I forget what I said, but it was kind of dropping the hint. Like, do you have your kids? and she's just on her phone, and it's like, oh, this is my break time, and I'm like, you're not reading social cues, are you, lady? So
Wow.
sometimes, and we wound up just walking away to another section of the park. But
I mean, it does get hard because we do have like digging tools, and our metal detectors are expensive, and we're trying to get metal detecting done. And if it's a kid that's respectful, staying away, learning from what you're doing,
answer
that's one
questions,
thing.
that's good. I don't mind that at all. But if a kid's going to be rude, and it's
Yeah.
like, I don't got time for that, and if your mom is just like not listening to that, no, you need better parenting. So
Definitely, especially when I've had experiences in Prospect Park where the kid wants to dig, or the kid is grabbing your detector or digging, putting his hand in your holes when you're trying to see, what's going on. Maybe you need to pinpoint, maybe you need to run your detector over it, and you don't want to hurt this kid. You don't want to say anything, so
that's where you have to say, like, no, you need to stop doing
right,
that. You know,
right.
yeah,
It
you
gets
have.
it's stressful. Like Willie says, Merrill was stressed out, but the ring calms him down.
Yep, yep. Oh, rings have that effect on me.
Yeah,
Yep.
it is a very stressful situation, especially in New York, where there's so many people. You go to Prospect Park in the morning, and there's like 1,000 people walking their dogs.
Yep.
Tell them you're looking for landlines. That's funny. Uh,
That's
landmines,
funny.
yeah, it's gonna explode. Yeah, we have a lot of history here in the city, and I'm very grateful to be, out there looking for it with you, with other people, when we do go out and digging up, interesting things all the time. It's been fun,
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
and
Can't wait to do some more.
yeah, I'm getting excited that our group is slowly growing, and that we're going to, um, you know, our group is slowly growing, and I'm pretty sure if it wasn't for this whole COVID-19 thing, we probably would have been out, in a large group, me, you, Jeff, James, everybody just out detecting. Dennis, Marilyn, Rob, Carlos, who else do we
Good
often
people.
detect with?
That's all you could ask for.
It's good
Yep.
people, yeah. And sort of, I think I sort of feel like good people sort of gravitate towards each other. Um, there's some people in New York who don't agree with what we're doing when we make videos, when we go out in groups. They say we're calling attention to ourselves, but sort of we have sort of gravitated to each other, and we have this little culture where we want to share our finds, we want to share our locations, we want to sort of bring each other into the fold and just vibe off each other's energy. And I think finding that was probably the best find of metal detecting for me, is finding the group of people that I detect with.
Absolutely. I'd say that all the time. Couldn't agree with you more.
Definitely. Does anybody have? We're about to wrap this up. We're sort of 10 minutes away from the 2 hour mark. But does anybody have any last questions for Meryl? Awesome stuff. Yeah, definitely. We're always finding awesome stuff. Meryl.
Carlos has one. Are you ever going to scuba dive and make underwater video? That's the dream. I'm trying to convince the family because they and I really should do that responsibly. Get trained. Um, never go alone.
Hmm.
But yes, I very much want to do that.
Oh, how did you make out with the ticket? You had said that in a video, but why don't you explain the story? How you got the ticket and what happened?
Yeah, well, it caused a good country western song. Um, yeah, basically I was in Prospect Park,
Hmm.
and I was approached. No, my friend who was having his first day detecting was approached by the Parks Department. He didn't have a permit, and basically they decided to ticket both of us, even though I'm sorry, Van Cortlandt Park was on the permit,
Hmm.
and I just appealed it, and because I had the permit, I was good.
What was the appeal process? Like you went in and just showed your permit and.
They only give you a chance to show up. They send you something in the mail, and
Hmm.
it's just like you're innocent, guilty, and you have just a few seconds to win them over. All I said is, I have my permit right here. This is all you need. That's it.
Wow. Did your friend's ticket also get, or did he pay, or did you pay
I
friend.
wound up paying for my friend though.
You paid
That
for your
that's
friend. Okay.
yeah, that's what I didn't put into the live stream,
Yeah, that's something that you didn't put into the video.
into the video.
Um,
Yeah.
we're just getting a lot of love in the chat. Dennis says, "I love our group, man. For real, love you guys. Just wanted to say thanks to you both. Yeah, thanks, Keith. I finally made it to over 500 subs. Casper says, start off with snorkeling. Thanks, bro. Right back at you. That's Dogstar Blazer. Yeah, we have a good group here in New York.
Yes, we
Yes.
do.
Is Meryl and Adele going to have an affair? No. No.
Nincompoops breed nincompoops. No, we're
Yeah.
not going there. No.
That sort of relationship is really funny. The way Adele sort of makes fun of you, and there's sort of like this friendly competition where you find something good, and she's like, "Oh, why are you in my space? Go over there." That's just funny. That banter, that back and forth. That it's sort of like in Japanese. There's a term like tsundere, like a female who is like a dominating sort of picking on you personality. And Adele kind of has that.
Yeah, I look at it this way. Eh, she's. I'm an only child.
Hmm.
It took me a while to get to the point where I'm like, yeah, I totally understand. The more that somebody gives you a hard time,
Hmm.
it means they like you.
Yeah.
And she's always yelling at me, so it's not a bad thing. And let her yell, let her, and give her a hard time back. And that's what we do, and it's fun to watch too.
I was a bit shocked when I first met her. It was her and her daughter.
Yeah,
Do you remember that banter between those
yeah,
two?
I
That
do.
that was shocking to me. I was like, "Holy
It was.
smokes!"
But then you see the back of her card, and you're like, okay, I get it. She has stickers on the back of her car like "men are idiots," blah blah blah, and she's just she doesn't mean it. She is just a absolute character.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We have a few questions here. Just to finish up again, it's we've been on for 1 hour 53 minutes. But Thomas Jackson says, Meryl, when you hunt, your detector settings often have a lot of beeps when you aren't hitting targets. Do you set them very high, and why doesn't your detector seem silent when you're
New
detecting?
York, I think New York sets them high,
Yeah,
and it really everywhere you swing in New York, there's something.
Thomas.
It could be that they landfilled the ground, or they put something into it.
What Meryl's saying is true. Those are not like silent things. Those are real targets. They're just probably trash.
Yeah,
That's why Meryl sort of ignores them. But you want to hear that. You want to hear if there's other things that might distort the signals that you're looking for.
yep.
And a lot of it is cherry picking. The signals that are consistent, that are what you're looking for.
We have a guest.
Oh, hey, how you doing?
Oh, here you
Let me
can't
get
hear. Hold
myself
on.
let me get myself out the way. Hey, how you doing? Hi.
Hi.
Say hi to everybody. There's 32 people watching.
Ow.
I remember when Meryl was on Coffee with Liz, you hit him with a hammer. Do you remember hitting your dad with the sort of balloon hammer?
You don't remember hitting me with the hammer?
It was sort of like a balloon hammer thing. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe mallet is the right word. But it was pretty funny.
Thanks, Jonathan. She's going to go get it now.
I had to remind her because the last time you were on a live stream with her, that's what she did. That came to my head.
Stop Meryl with hammers.
Um.
Oh, she says the good thing is she can't find it.
Oh,
I
she
think it's
can't find it.
downstairs.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good.
If
All
it
right.
gets you a few more subs, Jonathan, I'm all for it.
So Carlos says it would be nice to find out about Randall's Island. Why is it on the list of parks you can detect, but they tell you can't detect it? So this is something that happened recently when me and Carlos went out, and we'll talk more about this next week in the live stream. Carlos's Darkstar Blazer is going to be on the live stream with me next Wednesday at 6 o'clock. But we went out to Randall's Island, and there's just so many fields ball field, and um, that we got stopped, and they basically said we shouldn't be metal detecting, Randall's Island. You okay there, Meryl?
Hmm.
Yeah, they basically told us you shouldn't be metal detecting Randall's Island, even though it's on the permit, even though we're allowed to. There's sort of a lot of things going on Randall's Island. It's a very interesting place, sort of with the psychiatric homes, with the homeless shelter, with the police station being on there, that it's heavily policed. And so we just weren't left in peace when we were there, and we left. But
Well,
yeah.
that's your theory on it. I think it's Randall that's behind this. It's Randall's Island, so
He's like, get those detectorists.
Yep, yep,
Well, I wanted to hit on one more subject. I have written it down here in my notes. I completely forgot. The
yep.
new coils you got for your Equinox.
Yes.
What do you think? Are you going to? It seems like you're gravitating more towards the. Oh, thanks, John Perez, for subscribing. It seems like you're gravitating more towards that smaller coil than the bigger one. What do you think about them? What's your impressions, your opinions on these new coils that you've been using?
Well, we were talking about New York and trash, and the bottom line is if you detect New York, you're going to hit a lot of trash.
Definitely.
And the dirt gets stirred up a lot in New York, meaning that a lot of the stuff that could be far down, almost like a farming field,
Hmm.
it could get pulled up. That's possible.
Hmm.
So really, what you got to do is you need something that isolates, and the coil that really isolates is the small coil.
Now, you lose some depth with the small coil.
You
What do
could
you,
still get down 7-8 inches with it. It is
okay.
worth it.
So it's
To
good
me,
enough for what you're looking for.
yeah, to me, although I have to use the big coil more,
Hmm.
it is more valuable than the big coil.
Do you ever think, because I remember when you had first gotten the Amphibio and you were just amazed at how deep the Amphibio went, do you ever think you'd go back to using the Amphibio?
My Amphibio is currently in Florida, and
Ah,
I lent it to my cousin down in Florida because
okay.
I know he wants to get into detecting. And I'm like, you know what? This could be in my trunk, or this could help somebody.
Yeah, I hadn't seen you detect with the Amphibio for a long time, so I thought it was like chopped liver.
That that and the whites are down in Florida right
Oh, the
now.
White's Beach Hunter.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
currently, what detectors do you have available? Like, what's your arsenal
my
right now?
arsenal right now, I've got AT Pro Garrett 250, which is really Gabby's.
Hmm.
AT Pro I gave to my son Daniel. I have the whatchamacallit, the Safari,
Hmm.
and I have the Equinox.
Okay. And I know the Safari is a really big machine. Do you see yourself ever using it over the Equinox?
It was really good with deep signals. I pulled that deep quarter that day at Prospect Park that was down like
Hmm.
12 inches. I
Definitely.
know I know how to pull deep with that.
And you
And
pulled that Avern East find, the one that you showed earlier.
right. Yeah, that was a deep one
That
too.
was
You're
really
right.
deep.
Um, it has value with depth, but it struggles with when there's a lot of stuff that's around. I mean, it's
Hmm.
almost like seeing a dim star in a bright constellation, and that's what pulling a deep signal in New York is: a dim star in a bright constellation, and
Yeah.
you really need that laser beam of light, which is closer to what the sniper coil gives you, and to my surprise, it goes pretty deep.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. I know that Jackpot in Prospect Park with his Garrett, he was digging up chirps, just like little hints of good signals and pulling out amazing things
Yep,
just from, a little chirp. And yeah. So it's been 2 hours. Thanks, Meryl, for being on.
you got it, buddy. Anytime you want me on this show, of course I'll be here.
Definitely, definitely. And one more time, I just want to plug this. Down in the description, I have my email. And so if you want to be on the detecting zone, if you have a good story to tell, metal detecting, good finds, you had a good month, or you just want to tell your story, what do? You're an interesting person. Come on, I want to talk to you. I want to get information from our community, from other people, and just grow this because, I like the vibes I get from this YouTube community, from Meryl, from the people I've met, and I just want to meet, other new interesting people. Thanks so much, Meryl, for being on. Thank you, chat, for hanging here with us. I'm going to put on sort of the intro to roll for a little bit while we're here at the end. But yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for everybody. Thanks for the 500 subs as well.
Yeah.
I was shocked that happened yesterday. Last night I was at 470 something, and so yeah, that was really shocking to me. Thanks again, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Ciao.
There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detective zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the bottom of a man's soul and the depth of his sensitivity. This is the dimension of anticipation, a dimension we call the detective zone. I'm about to uncover another dimension, a dimension not only of sight and sound, but of depth. A journey into the wondrous land of New York. The next stop, the detecting zone. You unlock this door with a key known as a detector. Beyond it is another dimension, a dimension of sound, light, a dimension of mind. You're moving into the land of both shadow and objects, of both things and idea. You've just crossed into the detecting zone. There is a dimension beyond that which is known to man. It is as vast as the beach where things are lost into infinity. It is the ground